Hi, my name is Monique. Mo.
Yo.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, four. Yeah. Oh, okay. Cool. Thank you. Okay. Cool. Thank you so much. Y'all are the best. This is the best recording experience I've had
Yes,
because
it
I've
is.
recorded at different studios,
Mm-hmm.
but this one, like, because of the people, they're so like accommodating, professional, everything. So,
That's dope.
yeah.
I get that vibe. I can
Yeah.
feel the energy.
No, for
Yeah.
sure. And it's black owned, so you know.
Oh yeah. Come on now.
Yep.
I heard the water black on too.
I didn't know that, but the water is really. I love the water is really
That's
good.
that black water right there.
Yep.
We about to get a sponsorship at this point, right?
Listen. Okay. Why not? We're good to start. Okay. I like it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
good.
I'll probably get hot, but I always get hot and start sweating. But it's fine. It's fine. Mhm.
Yeah, I told you
Yeah.
it's warm out there.
Mhm.
He just got in from Georgia this morning, so this
Mm.
is freezing to him.
Oh, okay. Cool. Oh wait, is Bruce? Are you joining us? You can. Yeah. Whatever. Okay. I'm like, if you wanted to, that's okay too. I wasn't sure.
Again? This is fire.
Okay. Perfect.
All right.
All right. Cool. Okay. About to burp. Okay. We could start at any point, right? All right. Hey, what's up, y'all? You are listening to your Mental Matters podcast. I'm your girl Mo, and for those of you watching, thank you for tuning in. And we're back with another episode. And I'm here today with a very special guest, and he brought family with him. And I'm gonna introduce him in a second, but first, I want to thank you so much for being here. Um, yeah, this is the pod. We talk about mental health on here. And yeah, like I definitely feel like I'm intentional about like who I bring on based
Mhm.
off of what I know about them, what I see on social media. And so it definitely was like, you know, it was like to me, it was like an honor to just be able to reach out to you and have you
Thank
come
you.
on. Um, and so yeah, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yes,
This is
and
dope.
thank you. And yeah, introduce yourself to the people. For those of you who don't know who Jermaine is, and I want you to
Got
like
you.
introduce who you are, what you do, where you're from.
Okay.
Yeah, introduce yourself to the people. Who are you? What do you do?
Got you. So
Mhm.
my name is Jermaine Meadows. I am the founder of the Neighborhood Role Model LLC, currently the acting executive director, which is expressive art platform to combat mental health challenges
Mhm.
and provide educational tools for community capacity building. And outside of that, I am a policy person,
Mhm.
and I'm currently in a doctoral program right now at Vanderbilt University. So this is my second year,
Come
one
on,
more left to
doctoral.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me. I'm born and raised in East New York, Brooklyn. I'm here.
Okay, cool. And that's fire. And I guess what got you into that? Like just
Poetry.
yeah, what got you into poetry? What got you into like policy,
Okay.
into like that realm?
So born and raised in East New York, Brooklyn, right? Growing up, going through K through 12 public schools here,
Mhm.
we the majority, right? Where you see us. And
Right.
then I got my associate's degree. And then I went away for school. I went to SUNY Brockport, upstate New York.
Okay.
Predominantly white school,
Mhm.
predominantly white area,
Mhm.
real rural. It was just different. And I started to realize, like, damn, like we really out here hurting each other, and we
Mm.
after each other every day. We fighting each other, and we in such this like negative headspace. But then you go away, there's so many systemic things in place
Yep.
to keep us from these spaces, right?
Hmm.
And I learned that from going through that journey, from being one of the only black kids in my college classroom, and then graduating. It's about maybe 5 of us in a class,
Yeah.
right? So just being among that just opened my mind up. And then just thinking about how, when you're dealing with the racism on these college campuses and the inequalities, and it's like, well, you opened the door and accepted me to come here as if this was a space that was welcoming for me.
Right.
And when you think about how the money is dispersed and the things that happen on campus, a lot of the things that control that is policy.
Mm.
And being on that journey made me realize that for me, I feel like policy is a way to really make sustainable change and have a long term impact
Yeah.
and control funding. So that's what really made me go into the policy route
Hmm.
and just looking at the education system that we have today,
Yeah.
right? Like those were the things that really encouraged me and empowered me. And then throughout that journey, I was really blessed to work with a lot of black men,
Yeah.
some that was just from around the way, some that was from my undergrad, and some that was from my community college, and some of my friends that did time in prison. So we was always in contact. And I didn't realize, I didn't have the language for it, but we was able to create that safe space where you could call me and say, yo, bro, I'm not feeling right. Yo,
Mm.
bro, I'm not feeling good. I'm feeling down. I'm depressed. I'm
Mm.
sad. I'm not
Mm.
happy. I'm broke. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I'm miserable. I'm angry. So just creating that space. And a lot of times, especially in college, we was fighting, right? Like
Mm.
that's how we dealt with our emotions as men. And
Mm.
we cursed people out. We was aggressive. And it was like, what is a way for us to be able to really articulate our emotions in a way where people would even listen? Because a lot of times it feel like no one's listening to you.
Yep.
So art was that form of expression,
Right.
right? For me. And then when I started doing art, a lot of brothers was connecting with that. The safe space was already created. So they was coming out. They was already
Yeah.
being vulnerable, feeling comfortable in this space. And that's what really kind of drives the work,
Yeah.
creating that safe space for us. And
Yeah.
the focus is always on black men for me.
Yeah.
And then it just became something that was for everybody, which I'm thankful for that as well.
Of course. And I think that's amazing, just like hearing that, because a lot of people, they'll see like, with just the social media era, they'll see like, oh my gosh, he hosts these events and he
Hmm.
does these things and he has people come out, but people don't know like the groundwork
Yes.
that came, that started all of it. So I
Hmm.
think it's just dope to hear that. And yeah, and then of course getting into poetry and your brand, the neighborhood role model. um you kind of just touched on that, like you started with the art, and then it kind of just, the safe space was already the foundation, so
Yes.
people just started coming. And so what got you into art? I think I saw something on your Instagram where you talked about your teacher, one of
Oh,
your
yeah.
teachers, right? And I was like, this is so dope, but I don't know if he played a part in that at all. But I guess just take us through that journey of like your art.
Okay.
And
So shout out to Kareem. My that was my high school global teacher. So
mm-hmm.
we did
Okay.
not have no connection through art.
Okay.
But so I'll start from the beginning of, I used to rap. Like my pops used to rap, my moms used to rap, and I just learned
Mm.
my mom used to rap as I got
Yeah.
older. So I was the kid in the kitchen in the cafeteria banging on the table rapping, right?
Okay.
And then as I got more into my college and professional, I was like, man, let me chill. Everybody want to be a SoundCloud rapper, and that's
Mm.
not gonna be me. But I think as I was going through college, I needed a way to figure out how I was feeling. Like I was in therapy,
Yeah.
but I just felt like I need something else so I could work through this myself.
Right.
And I just started writing.
Mm.
And then I fell off. And then I started writing again. And then I remember this was maybe 2 years ago. I was in Orlando. We was actually together. And I was like, yo, I'm about to start doing poetry. And this
Mhm.
was August.
Yeah.
So my boy BJ got married in London to his wife in October. And he was like, yo, bro, you've been my friend since I came to this country.
Yeah.
And he's from Nigeria, moved to London, moved out here. And he's like, I need you to say some words at the wedding. Like, I want you to do a
Dope.
poem.
Okay.
And I was like, bro, I just started writing. You want me to perform? And I did it.
Okay.
Everybody loved it.
Wow.
And then my other bros did a comedy show in that November. It
Mhm.
was like 350 people there. They threw me up first. I opened up the show and everybody loved it.
Mhm.
And I was like, wow, this really have an impact. And my
Yeah.
poems was just about being a black man and no one valuing how you feel, no one caring about you, and just being a target to cops. And the way people responded was like, oh shoot. So I'm
Mm.
sitting there, I'm shocked. I got 100 followers in one night on the gram. I'm like, oh, I'm
Mm.
lit. Like I'm.
Mhm.
So then from there, I just kept it going. And then my birthday was in December. So I'm like, yo, let me do a show
Yeah.
myself. 100 people came out.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so we got something special and let's just keep it going. But as I was going through that journey, me and my high school teacher was always cool. Like
Mm.
he showed up to every graduation since high school,
Wow.
never missed one. And his brother was just in my life, right?
Yeah.
And he used to rap
Okay.
back in the days. So he
Mm.
was like, yo, bro, I got some art. So
Yeah.
then he performed at one of my shows. And then we did a piece together on like a teacher student level, back
Mm.
and forth,
Hmm.
talking about my perspective as a student in his class and his perspective as a teacher.
Love it.
And then we actually did a recording about mental health from
Mm.
both of our perspectives and just how far we both came as like how did he evolve as a teacher
Yeah.
and how did I evolve as a student to where I am now. And it's definitely a unique, dope brother relationship for sure.
That's fire. And can we talk about that though? Like,
Yeah.
just I guess your journey specifically with mental health and like, because I know you mentioned earlier you have been in therapy
Hmm.
before. So how did that start for you, right? Because I guess everybody has their, their own journey with mental health. I have my own and I can share my own too.
Hmm.
But for you, when did that start for you? Like therapy and the idea of like considering your own mental health.
I think the decision was made for me before I made the decision, right?
Mm.
And I didn't realize that because I think I want to say maybe around second grade, I was forced to have a counselor
Mm.
because my behavior issues. And then I think my parents just going back and forth, me being in and out of schools from New York City to down south. You know what I'm saying? I was
Okay.
falling behind. So I had to meet with somebody. So
Yeah.
that became mandatory from I think second, third grade
Yeah.
to 12th grade.
Got you.
And then when I got to my community college, I think that's when I really hit a wall. And I
Mm.
was like, yo, I don't belong here. I'm a first generation college student. My dad had just came home from jail. Now he about to go back, right? My mom's wasn't around. And I grew up in the hood. Like I grew up in the streets. So that was what I knew.
Yeah.
So now I'm in an environment that's different. It's uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And me feeling like I don't need help. I could take everything on. I hit a wall. Like, bro, that's not gonna work here.
Yeah.
In order for you to be successful, you got to ask somebody for help. You got to be open minded. You got to get outside your comfort zone. And I think everything just hit me at once. And then the first semester I dropped, had like a 2.9.
Mm.
And I was like, no, it was a 1.9 because you need a 2.0. And I was just like, yo, damn. Like,
Yeah.
so I think it was that. And I still wasn't going to therapy though. Like, I
Mm.
was just working out, right? Like, sports was my physical therapy,
Mhm.
mental therapy, spiritual therapy. Like, that's
Yeah.
what got me through everything. And when I finally graduated and went away, that's when one of my mentors was like, you need to see a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, bro, I'm not seeing no therapist. Ain't nothing wrong with me. I'm not crazy, right? Like, and that's that stigma that you have in your
Yeah.
mind. And then our first time I went, I saw a sister and I was like, damn, she just stereotyped me. Left that and I never went back
Oh,
for a year.
wow.
For a year, I was like, I'm not going back. Then I went back and I was like, yo, what am I supposed to do here? Just
Mm.
put all my problems on the table and you gonna fix it? So I was very like rebellious to it.
Yeah.
And then when I finally started to realize, like, bro, you only gonna get what you put in, right? So
Yep.
if you go in there and you show up and you authentic and you put everything on the table, then you're gonna see the benefits of therapy.
For
And it's gonna
sure.
work because you're willing to do the work. But if you think you're gonna tell me what I want to hear and manipulate your way through this, then you're only robbing yourself of your time and your money.
Yeah.
So that was something I had to learn. And then ever since by the time I graduated from undergrad, no matter where I went in life, I needed a therapist. So
Yeah.
it's been about, I want to say maybe 7 years now, 8 straight.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so dope. And I love that. I love that. I love that you didn't give up on it because you had a negative experience, right?
Yeah.
Which I feel like I've heard a lot, especially, now that I'm like in the field. I'm newly in the field, but dealing with clients, just from my experience, they come in and they express that. A lot of times, um, they have gone to therapy before and the experience was a little weird or,
Hmm.
and so that deterred them. But being that you went back and then you were able to kind of reap those benefits of it and also challenge yourself in the process, I think that's kind of like the hope, right? Like I think
Yes.
the hope. That's definitely the hope just from like a therapist viewpoint where it's like we would want to see that you have that grit and you want it
Yeah.
versus like it being like pulling teeth and trying to get you to want to be in the space, right? So I think that's just dope to hear that, for sure. And I think I've had my own negative experiences too with therapists. And I feel like, and I've heard this quote from one of my homies, Mac, who he's a couples therapist, that therapists make the worst clients, right? And I'm like, that might be true. That might be true. And I'm like, from my own experience, I was the worst client ever
Yeah.
when I had a therapist like because I went to therapy. The first time I went to therapy was right after undergrad because I experienced like a lot of anxiety like leaving college because like there's this structure. I feel
Hmm.
like I had this structure my whole life. Go to school, I come from a single parent household, but just that stability was there, right? It was like, okay, go to school. Even undergrad, it's like there's still stability there. If you live on campus, if you're a commuter, you just
Right.
know there's a routine. So now leaving undergrad, I was like, oh, so like I'm supposed to operate as an adult now? Like, how does that really work? Because I feel like I've been like sheltered. I've always had been able to lean on
Right.
my mom. And so I was experiencing all of this anxiety, having anxiety attacks on the train. I grew up in New York City my whole life.
Hmm.
I'm on the subway. All of a sudden, I can't breathe. I'm clamming up. And I'm just like, this is weird. But then I sought therapy, and then we realized it was anxiety that I was experiencing. And then that was the best experience I ever had with a therapist, right? She was a black woman like me. So we connected, and I was able to like get past that point.
Hmm.
I tried to go to a therapist like last year, and we just didn't gel. I feel like it didn't work.
Yeah.
And I was so like, I was not, I did not respond to her. When she reached out to me, I was like, nope. I saw her one time and I was like, ma'am,
Yeah.
it's not going to work. But instead of me communicating like I know how, I just was I feel like, I don't want to say bad client, but I just was like, I just, brushed it off as something that I didn't need to like continue to like seek after because I just didn't like our initial interaction. And I
Hmm.
think it's okay to do that. It's okay to like walk away. You realize it's not for you. It's okay to walk away. But I think it's for me, I should have communicated better and let her know like this wasn't gonna work. But instead I kind of just ghosted her.
Right.
so yeah, I think like having those experiences are normal. But I think you hearing that you didn't give up on it is everything because um that could be inspiring to hear just for other,
That's
black
real.
men
Yeah.
who may be like, just like have their guard up when it comes to therapy because of a negative experience or feeling like
Hmm.
they're stereotyped or whatever. So, I love that.
That's real. Thank
Yeah.
you. That's yeah.
Yes. And yeah, I do want us to get into a couple of things on this show. Usually we have a couple of segments. We do our mental health check-in, which we didn't do yet. I should have started off with that, but
It's
we
all
can
good.
yeah, we can still do it now. So just the check-in just consists of me asking you like how has your mental health been as of lately? I guess we could say maybe in the past over the past like month or a few weeks. How has your mental health been and how are you feeling now?
It's been good. I'm blessed.
Mhm.
We just wrapped up one of our fourth show Friday. It was
Mhm.
called It's Not You, It's Me Poetry,
Yep, I was
which
there.
you know what I'm saying? So it was amazing, right? To have that many people come out,
Yeah, it was
to
dope.
create a safe space, black and brown people, a place where people feel safe
Yeah.
and we could just share our stories and connect one another. Like I think that's a gift,
Yeah.
and I don't take it for granted. It's midterms, so you know how
Mm.
that goes. But I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm managing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I hear that.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and I don't miss it. Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm like, I graduated in May of 2022. With I don't we don't know that because we're really getting to know each other on this episode.
Right, right,
That's
right.
for the audience, for the listeners. Me and Jermaine met on Instagram. We didn't even really give the backstory, but
Right.
we're just getting to know each other here, really. We did run into each other. We ran into each other spontaneously.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Um on a night out. I went out to the club, I guess you could say, to the lounge with my homegirl for one of our mutual friends. It was his
Hmm.
birthday. And then we ran into each other there
Yeah.
after we were followers on Instagram, right? And then I recognized you and I was like,
You do poetry? I'm like,
yeah, I think I know you from somewhere. And then we conversed there, but
yeah,
we didn't
facts.
really get to in that environment when you're out, you're not
Yeah.
really going to be able to have like more like thorough and in-depth conversation. So this is really our like time getting to
Yeah.
know each other. And so yeah, I got my master's in mental health counseling from New York University.
Dope.
And so yeah, I graduated in May of 2022. So like I'm newly like in the field as far as like being able to be hands on with clients, but I'm
Hmm.
getting currently getting my clinical hours for to be licensed in in New York. And so that's a whole other process within itself, which I think that's what we when we
We was
talked
talking about
briefly,
that.
we was talking
Yeah.
about that. So yeah, currently I'm working at a private practice in the city. And it's cool, right? It's like it's everything that I've worked for and wanted to do. But um it's I guess for my check-in, at times like the job it can be stressful, right?
Hmm.
It's like, but I love it. So I think like overall I can say I've been feeling balanced, where it's like I'll have, ebbs and flows, which is natural and normal, but I feel like it's manageable and it's not too overwhelming, because like private practice for me has been like a dream. Like before private practice I was working with more like severe mental health and like individuals with substance abuse and drug use, and that was stress every day.
Hmm.
Every time I went to work I left depleted of everything, right? But um it was still like really great experience, right?
Right.
And I think like it's still is a needed, like just therapists are needed in that space as
Yep.
well. And so I think like yeah, so where I'm at now, I could say I'm happy.
That's
I'm
so
happy.
dope.
I'm happy with where I'm at. Um, and so yeah. So I do want us to get into a little icebreaker. I feel like we
Okay.
broke the ice, but I'll call it a little game, right? Where we'll pick some cards and we'll read the question out loud for everyone, for the audience to hear, and then we kind of go back and forth, right?
Okay.
So we're gonna start with these cards.
Let's get it.
They're called the right? And this is the Friends edition. We're gonna work with these cards for now. And they have a lot of editions. I have the strangers edition, there's a couples edition, there's a dating edition. I feel like these cards are really good if you want to just get to know someone on a deeper level.
I think I saw those trending on Instagram, right? Was
Listen,
those? I
these
think.
cards are everything, right? So yeah, I'll have you go first. You
Okay.
pick first. They're shuffled up, so we'll
Let's
see.
see. When do you feel most alive?
Oh, I like that one.
Wow.
Hmm.
On vacation.
Love that answer.
On vacation.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's like a world away from the world.
Yeah, love that. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and you could put it
Man,
on
I
the.
like this one. I'm ready to keep this card.
Yeah, I know,
Right?
right?
Just look at it every morning.
Right? Okay. And so I'll pick one. Okay. This says, "What do you always carry with you?" Mm, what do I always carry with me? I hate when I get the questions that I have to think real hard about. I always carry with me. Um, Let me go to the next question because I'm gonna sit here all day and not be able to answer this. So I'm gonna go to the next one. Okay. What is your biggest hope for the future? Okay.
Okay.
All right. This should be simple enough. So my biggest hope for the future is that I'll say one of my biggest hopes for the future is free healthcare. Free
That's
healthcare
real.
for all,
That's
for
real.
everybody. I feel like everybody should have access to good quality healthcare, and it shouldn't cost a bajillion dollars, right? Because if you're a
Hmm.
human being, you're gonna need to see the doctor at some point. You're gonna need, and I just feel like across the board, mental health services,
Yeah.
a physician, whatever you need, I feel like that would be my hope. Or at least we can get to a point where it's just like very affordable.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be one.
Free is always nice, right?
Free is
It's so funny too, because I met a lot of brothers who was like, man, I can't afford it.
yeah,
A lot of people, it's the price. So
yep,
free,
absolutely. Yep.
for real.
Yeah. Okay. So we go to the next one.
Okay. Let's see.
We'll do maybe like two more before we
Wow. I would see.
what is it?
What advice would you give a 14-year-old me?
Ooh.
I would say be patient
Mm.
and everything's gonna work out,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And
Yeah.
that's what I try to tell myself now because thinking back to 14, it's like, bro, I never thought life would be like this.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just gotta chill. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can't control everything. It's already written.
Yeah.
So I'll say that. Just be patient. That's dope.
I like it. I like that the question. And yeah, I guess when you say like be patient, I guess I kind of want to like expound on that a little bit. Like what was going on as a 14-year-old in your mind that you felt like you need. I mean, teenagers in general, they feel like they
Yeah.
have it all figured out, I think. But for you, what was going on at that time?
14?
Hmm.
Shit. Oh, excuse
Huh?
me. 14.
That's what I'm saying. Like at 14 was a
That's middle school, right? 14, that's like
I was in high school at 14.
that's different. That's
Yeah.
what's it?
But it could be because my birthday's late. Because I was
Maybe.
like a freshman, I think, at either a freshman or sophomore.
14? Yeah, no, I think I was in like 8th grade.
Mm,
14? What was going on?
yeah. Like when you
I
say be
think
patient, what did you need to be patient about?
wanting to make money,
Mm,
right? I'm ready to work.
mm-hmm.
Um, feeling like I gotta fix everything,
Yeah.
being stressed about life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think around that time, because I remember my dad had went away, I think 5th grade, and came back when I was in like 7th grade, right?
Mm,
So it was that pressure of being the man of the house, right? Because I'm
mm-hmm.
the oldest.
Yeah.
And it was just me, my little brother, and my stepmom, and my two little cousins. So I think it was just trying to feel it, the need to control everything, the narrative,
Yeah.
the I'm gonna get this job, I'm gonna make this amount of money, and wasn't even thinking about college, right? Like
Yeah.
just I just need to get this money. So yeah, just patience and
Got
just
you.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and then working out, trying to be, like
Mm-hmm.
just patience.
Yeah. Got you. Understood. I'm like at 14, what was I doing? Yeah, I
Damn,
think
14.
I'm like at 14, I was, hanging out with friends, running track.
Yeah.
I was on the track team at that time. So I think I was just, I feel like at 14, I don't know that I felt like I had like too many stressors, but I
Hmm.
do think that around that age is when a lot of peer pressure comes in. A lot of
Hmm.
you kind of are experimenting and exploring and trying to figure out like who am I? You're almost like in this identity phase, I feel
Right.
like, where you're trying to figure out like, or you have an idea or you think you know who you are at 14,
Hmm.
but you don't.
Hmm. You
That's
have
what
no
I would.
idea.
You don't know, but you
Hmm.
will soon find out if you start, wilding,
Right, right.
right?
Life gonna humble you real quick.
Yes, exactly.
Wow,
Hmm.
that's a good card.
Yeah, be patient. I think is great. That's great advice. Okay, so for me, what's a mistake you've made that changed your life?
Mm.
Hmm. Hmm. Ooh, a mistake. I'm like, should I answer this? Depending on who watches this podcast, their feelings might be hurt.
Right, right.
But but you know what I will say? I'm gonna answer the question because I'll be cheating. I'll be skipping questions that I don't want to answer. So I'm gonna answer this one. But I think a mistake, this is the first thing that's coming to my mind, is there was a relationship that I was in. I don't know if I want to call it a mistake, but I feel like certain decisions I made in that relationship were mistakes that changed my life now for the better, I think.
Mm.
Like I feel like I learned so much about myself from the mistakes that I made in like this relationship that was some years ago. And so now, yeah, I just feel like I'm wiser for it. That's all.
Yeah,
That's all I'll say. But
it's a lesson,
yes,
not a mistake,
that part.
right?
Right. Mm-hmm. So we'll
We
do
learning lessons out
that's
here.
it.
All right, let me get one of these. See what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow. Okay. How would you describe true love?
Ooh, this is a good one because your event that you had the other day, I feel like a lot of the poets were talking about love,
Hmm.
and I loved it. And we're gonna get back into that too and just talk about your events and stuff. And but yeah, for you,
Damn.
what does that
Um,
mean?
how would you describe true love? I would say something that's authentic,
Mm,
um, real,
mm-hmm.
present, right, and not um a fairy tale, right? Because I
Mm.
think sometimes we have ideas of how things is supposed to be or how we want things to be,
Yep.
and it's not always the reality of the world nor the times, right?
Right.
In our situation.
Mm-hmm.
Um and yeah, and just being present, like support, genuine support and understanding, listening, caring, I think it goes a long way.
Definitely. I
Yeah.
like that for sure. That was a good one. You getting the good ones.
Yeah, I know, right? I
You
was like
getting the good ones. I'm getting the ones that's like okay. It's all right though.
this box is set up, right?
Right. Right. Seriously.
This box is set up.
Right. So this is the last card because the question is, how do you feel safe? Okay,
Ooh,
so
that's a great one.
yeah. And maybe we could both answer. We could both, since it's the last card, we both answer, right? How do you feel safe? So I feel safe when I feel heard.
Mm,
Um because when I feel like I've been heard, most of the times I feel like um I've been understood as well. Cause I think like a lot of times or just throughout my lifetime, I feel like I've felt misunderstood. So when I feel like somebody heard what I said and they understand it, then I feel safe with them. Like I feel like okay, this is this person I feel like I can trust with talking to and communicating with more about more things and then probably deeper things because they heard me and they understood me when I spoke to them the first time. You know, so I think like it doesn't make me feel safe when I feel like I'm trying to communicate like from a genuine place and from a real place and then I'm just misunderstood. People don't, you know, like
Hmm.
that just
Hmm.
it bothers my spirit. It bothers, you know. So I think for me, when I feel heard, when I feel understood, um, yeah, because I feel like sometimes when people think of safety, they think about like physical,
Hmm.
and so like me, it's more like the internal, right? The internal like safety, emotionally, mentally. Yeah, just feeling like a person is genuinely listening to me to understand me versus like you know picking apart what I say or just jumping on the first thing I say that maybe they don't like or they don't understand. So yeah, that for me makes me feel safe.
That's real.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll pretty much say the same thing because I think emotionally safety, I would say, is just being in a space where people are listening, right? And
Mm-hmm.
actually listening to understand and
Right.
just like not always to respond, but just to understand and say, okay, like let's talk about this. Let's talk through this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you genuinely listen to somebody, it's easier to kind of help provide some type of advice, right? Or
Yeah.
guidance that's from a space of like love and
Yep.
care
Mm-hmm.
and not from a space of like judgmental or,
Right.
just harshness. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
That part. Exactly. Exactly. Um. Yeah. And for you, how do you feel safe? Or was that you?
that was
That was it. That was it. You trying to? I see you trying to skate.
you know
You
what I'm
trying to
saying?
skate.
Like,
You trying to get away from that one.
nah, yeah, yeah,
You
like
would. You would agree.
I would agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. All right. So definitely, I want to get back to the neighborhood role model and
Hmm.
just like the start with that. Can you expound more on like how you came up with the concept and the idea and just the because when I saw your page, what caught my attention was like just the mental health conversation that was coming up in the poetry, right? And
Mm.
so yeah, how did you come up with the brand and the idea for the neighborhood role model and then just throwing in the mental health piece, what sparked that?
Okay. So a lot of people don't know unless they was around from day one, but the neighborhood role model was originally Breaking Barriers consulting firm
Okay.
that I started when I was in grad school because I've been working with black men. In
Mm-hmm.
undergrad, I was the president of a men of color organization where we just focused on black men, their social emotional learning, their well being, and just how do you prepare them for when we leave here.
Yeah.
Right. So like tie and ties, resumes, interview prep, like that was the thing that we did.
Mhm.
And then so that was like pretty much the foundation of all of this work, right? Like being in these mentorship programs as like a young brother just coming up
Yeah.
and breaking barriers. I was like, well, I'm going to all of these schools and organizations, speaking on these panels. Like, this ain't free now. Like, like
Mm.
we growing up. So how do we monetize this, right? Because
Mhm.
it's important that we get paid for our work.
Yep.
And people are not just bringing us in because we're in the field and they respect what we do, but also like compensate us for our time.
Yeah.
So it was like a formality, I'll say. And it kind of didn't work out, right? Like
Mm.
it just didn't work out, and that was okay because we still was able to have impacts, and we was doing like food drives in the community, partnering up, and it was just still working with the youth going into
Mhm.
school. So the work is like you can't really put a price on it. So when I started writing poetry, I was like, yo, what I'm gonna call myself? And when I graduated from undergrad, I went away to West Africa for a little while. I had a
Mm.
job working under Peace Corps, and I had came back early.
That's dope.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was
Yeah.
alright. It was an
Yeah.
interesting journey.
Mhm.
Um, and from there, I went into grad school, and then I'm coming from being a first gen, right?
Yeah.
I'm coming from being around a bunch of first gens in college, and then a lot of my peers from K through 12 was going to jail, coming home. Some of them died. So they looked at me like, yo, bro, you really a neighborhood hero. Like, you
Mhm.
my role model. And these is brothers that's older than me, some of them my same age, some of them younger.
Mhm.
And so they kind of gave me that name, like, yo, bro, you really the neighborhood role model. So when
Mm,
I was like, what I'm gonna call my stage name, it was that.
yeah.
And I wanted to start a podcast. But then when I started doing poetry and I started just going through my personal journey with life, with mental health, and the things that I was talking about was really the experiences of Black men, I was like, yo, bro, this is about mental health, right?
Yeah.
Like, not only this is about providing an expressive art platform, we trying to link people to real life mental health services.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the way that we can even acknowledge that this exists is through art,
Yeah.
in a way that it won't feel like it's forced or like you doing too much, or just we just constantly talking about it. And some
Yeah.
people not always ready. Not everyone is
Mhm.
always at that level. So with the art, I think it paints a picture. It's like listening to music that you can relate to. You feel it. So it's like same thing with the art, and it's just that connection. So that's how the neighborhood role model came about,
Yeah.
and the focus on mental health really too, because as I was doing my own shows, like just going to people performing, like people was coming up to me crying.
Mm,
Like, yo, I felt that. Yo, I went through this. And I'm like, yo, this is real. Like,
yeah.
all right, God. Like, I hear you. All right,
Yes.
cool.
Yeah. No, that's dope. That's beautiful. And I think like I just love stories like that because it's like I think just similarly to like the whole reason why I started the podcast because I started podcasting when I was still in undergrad. So I
Mm,
think like my major was psychology in undergrad and my minor was media and communication. So I was able to kind of combine the two. Like whenever I wasn't, once I finished all my major studies like with psychology, I had time to spend on campus at my school's radio in the radio station
dope.
on campus, and the concept and idea formulated to just put the two together literally from just like um just my own passion, right? It was like, initially you could say started off as like a passion project, because like nothing was necessarily established yet,
Right.
but it was just something that I felt like I didn't see, and I wanted to do it just off of like me being passionate about mental health, and me, wanting to kind of just do it through a creative, you know, do
That's
something
real.
through a creative lens. So I think like it just reminds me of like even just my own idea and journey with like starting the podcast, which was and then you realize like, how impactful it is when you get those like responses and you get
Yeah.
that feedback, and it reaches people in that way. And I think like that's dope because it does have to be digestible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially coming from an urban city like New York. You're from Brooklyn, I'm from Queens. Coming from certain parts, like people are not going to be receptive
Yeah,
to certain
exactly.
things. And if you come up to somebody, and you're trying to like you want them to receive something, sometimes you have to package it differently. And
Mm-hmm.
I think like it sounds like that's what you did, and it's making an impact in a major way. Like
Yeah.
I went to your event. Um, that was Friday, right?
Friday, yeah.
I feel like time
Did I
is
see
flying.
you?
Yes, we said hi, we hugged,
We
and every
did. We
yeah,
did.
we
Yo, I
did.
was I was all over the place.
No, no, no. But you were moving around, but I was able to catch it and be present. And a lot of people were expressing like real stories, like they were speaking about real events that happened to them through poetry, which I was
Mm-hmm.
like, is first of all, this is fire. Like I think it's a gift to be able to like do um spoken word or just speak off of the top of your head about like and put it in that creative form. I think is like I love it. Like when I had a mental health event back in 2020, and I had a lot of poets there,
Mm-hmm.
and like I really just have a great appreciation for it because like some of my friends are in that realm, and to me it's a gift because I'm like
Definitely.
I don't know that I could just go up there and just speak and
You
do it in a
could.
way that's just
You could.
but doing it in a way because you do it in a way where it's like it's your own way.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can't take it from you,
Mm-mm.
So I just feel like that's where it becomes like a thing that's to me it's like that's spiritual. Like that's a whole gift. And so like I love it. And yeah, I was able to witness it in real time, like people sharing their hearts and their stories.
Yeah.
And to me, I was like, this is so dope. Like I love being in those type of spaces. And so with you kind of curating and creating these spaces, how do you like kind of just like pour back into yourself because I feel like you
Mm.
being a like because you're giving to like the community, right, a lot in that space. um how do you pour back into yourself? How do you give yourself that time to kind of like recuperate, self-care, stuff like that?
That's real.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. I gotta remember to write sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm like, yo, I'm doing a lot of the logistical stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
I gotta make sure I'm good,
Yeah.
right? Like so I write a lot. Like I got a book coming out. It's called Mixed
Mm.
Emotions of a Young Black Man.
Dope.
And so like I write a lot.
Yeah.
I'm in therapy once a week.
Nice.
I go to the gym 3 to 4 times a week. So
Mm-hmm.
those things is like standard, right? That's like
Right.
brushing your teeth in the morning.
Yeah.
Like it has to happen in order for
Mm-hmm.
me to stay on track and function right. So yeah, that's how I manage that.
Okay, good. And I'm glad to hear that. You have that routine, you know
hmm
what you need to do. It's like a kind of like a two-step for you now.
Yeah.
Which I feel like there's a lot of, like, I was talking to one of my homies the other day, and he was saying that he has to remember to like give himself a minute, because he doesn't. Like, he kind of just run, goes, works,
Yeah.
he shows up for family in this way and that way, but he has to remind himself to pause. And I'm like, and that's normal. If it's not routine for you yet, then it will take you a minute to get there.
hmm
But I think as long as, like, and that's why I like to like sit down with people to find out, what are you doing? Like, do you have a regimen? Because the more that it gets normalized, people hear like, no, people have a regimen
hmm
in order to maintain their own health and their own mental health and their own stability. This is what, you sharing what you do. And yeah, me too. I feel like I have a routine now too. Like, ever since, and I was sharing this with my homie too. Like, when I had my experience with like anxiety back in, that was like, I don't know, when did I graduate from high school? Or undergrad, I mean. When I graduated from undergrad, um, I was like 20. I can't remember. My memory's bad, but I was about to, when I graduated from undergrad and I was having my like anxiety attacks and stuff like
hmm
that, from that experience with therapy, gaining those tools from therapy, because I was about a good solid like 2 years that I was in therapy, and I was able to get a lot of coping mechanisms
Right.
and get to the root. First of all, getting to the root of, like, if anybody out there is dealing with anxiety and they feel like it's continuous, getting to the root of it is the first step. And then also getting those tools, those coping mechanisms, those tools that can help you if ever you do feel like, something is coming up. For me, I've carried that with me even to the present. Like, and I don't deal with anxiety, um I feel like, rarely now. It'll happen once in a while where I'll feel like, okay, I feel overwhelmed, I feel anxious. But like anxiety attacks, I haven't had since I started going to therapy
Mm,
back
that's
then.
amazing.
So I think, like, it works. Like, when people say like they don't think it works, it does work, because I didn't have that anymore, because I understood. Now I had a better understanding of myself, and when I start to feel certain ways, why I'm feeling that way. And then the tools, now I do mindfulness meditation, and meditation don't take all day, because some people think
Right.
meditation take forever. You could
hmm
literally meditate as you're like walking down the street, like, and I say it's similar to prayer, right? Like, I feel like you could pray anywhere. Like, sometimes I'm walking and praying at the same time, and people don't know,
hmm
because it's personal,
Right.
right? And it's the same thing with meditation, where I'll like be doing like mindfulness meditation in a crowded room, just so that I can like bring myself back to being grounded if I'm
Right.
feeling too, like, there's too much energy. Like, you ever been somewhere where it's just too much energy
Yeah.
and you feel
Yeah.
like,
No,
I
for
need to
sure. For
ground
sure.
myself right now.
For
And if I
sure.
can't leave this building, I can't leave this
hmm
room, how can I get myself to a place where I feel okay? And then I'll just do the mindfulness meditation for a few minutes and I'm cool.
That's real.
So I think, like, I carried that with me from then, from like, and that was about maybe like, was that like 20, maybe 2018? No, the timeline's off, but it's been it's been some years, right? And so I think, like, it's just good to have your routine, to
Yeah,
know
for
what you
sure.
need to get yourself where you need to be. So
Yeah, and I'll just add too, right, for those listening too. It's okay sometimes when you don't always follow your routine because life
yeah.
happens and it throws you off. So if
Hmm.
you usually go 5 days a week to the gym and you did 4 this week, it's okay,
That's
right?
okay.
Like sometimes you just need to chill, like
Yeah,
just chill.
give yourself
Like,
a break.
yeah,
For sure. For sure. Because that's normal. That's
yeah,
human.
it's
That's just
normal.
that's life. That's
Life.
ebbs and flows. That's balance.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just like, like, I can be a professional and I can be, sometimes I want to be quiet, but then sometimes I want to go out with my friends and turn up, and
Exactly.
like, it's just finding that balance, and the ebbs and flows of life. Like, it's just, it's important to know that, like, and not be a perfectionist, not be too hard on yourself,
Right.
so um yeah. And I guess a question that was coming up for me, I wanted to get back to just the work that you do. And I know you said a lot of the work you do, your focus is Black men, right? I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to ask, how was it for you, um like, with your experience with your father going away,
Mm-hmm.
and having that experience with being the man of the house for a certain period of time, or having that mindset, how do you feel like that affected you mentally, um do you feel like it had an effect on you mentally, your father going away?
Um, I think now that I'm older,
Mm-hmm.
definitely,
Yeah.
right? Because I understand more. But growing up, that was the thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if you went to jail, you came home, you was a man, right? Like
Mm.
that's what made you a man. That's what made you tough. It was cool. It was cooler than going to college, right? Like,
Mm.
so that's the type of environment I grew up in. But also, I would say, unfortunately, but fortunately, those experiences also give credibility to the work that I do today,
Mm.
right? Because that's my reality.
Yeah.
But then I could also relate to the brothers that just went away to school and didn't have that experience, and they
Yeah.
just more had that education background
Yeah.
with so it helps and
Mm-hmm.
it allows me to create a space where it's the diverse group of black men from different backgrounds, with different experiences. Like, we had shows. There might be a brother in there that might had did 15 years and came home, and then we got another brother that did about 8 years in college and got a master's degree and got a law degree. So I think those realities is the reason I'm able to do this work. So it was an unfortunate experience, but it made me who I am, and it's unfortunate, but I'm thankful for it, right?
Yeah.
Because you just learn so much. It built who I am,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you for sharing your story too, because I feel like that's not an easy thing to be able to coming in a new space like this podcast, right? And
Yeah, it's
sharing
the
that.
work we do. So,
Yes, I love it. I love like the just the vulnerability and the transparency of it, because that's what reaches people, right? And
hmm
so um yeah, I guess I always get curious about like um you know, just like if people bring, because I think just for me personally, like in the mental health space, there are, I feel like, different people in it. There are people who
mm,
are doing it for money. And then there are people who are doing it because they're passionate about it and they love
right,
it. And then there are also people who just can relate, or who their heart is in it, right? And so I think like I've seen all types of people in the therapeutic space, and
that's
sometimes
real.
things it's like me realizing that, oh, like mental health and therapy can be, there is a political component to it. There is a part of it that I could see why people wouldn't be trusting, right? I could
hmm
see why people would have
hmm
reservations. But then when I know that there are people like me who are in it, that their heart is in it, they're passionate about it, I have my own experiences that I can relate to these people with, and I know that I walk with empathy and I can genuinely see myself in others and be able to put myself in other people's positions, which is what I feel like is one of my strengths in being able to do the work. I know that, okay, there's other people in the field that are like me too.
Right.
And so I think that's why I get curious about like if your life experiences is what, you
Oh
know,
yeah, for sure.
puts you in that path.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I would say that for sure. And just yeah, life, like just going through so many different experiences, I think, from like growing up in that type of environment, going through the type of school system that we went through, right? Then
Mhm.
going away to a predominantly white institution, and then now going to a private school, right? It's like it's a combination of experiences that really just I think it's rich experiences,
Mhm.
and it's not spoke about, right? Because like they say, the myth is you go to college, you get a job.
Mhm.
That was a lie, right? Like
That was cap.
it was cap. It doesn't work out
I
like that,
know.
right? But it's like it's that journey. Who's gonna talk to us about those things, and then who was there to talk us through those things, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody that sent us on those journeys. So it was kind of like, here's a platform, right? And here are people that trust your judgment, that trust your leadership, that believe in you, and you have a responsibility now.
Mm.
So that's how I feel. Like it's God's gift, and it's already written.
Mhm.
Like this. I'm not controlling this.
I know that's
You
right.
know what I'm
I say that all the time.
saying?
Like the fact that this podcast still going on, I'm like, Lord, because there's there's moments where I'm like, I feel like I have to take breaks because there's so much happening.
hmm
But then there's never a doubt, like there's never a moment where I'm like, stop doing the podcast, because I know the impact that it's already had. And people, when they don't, if I don't record for a while, people are like, are you putting out another episode? Like,
Right.
where's the? And I'm like, okay, like the motivation, like the light, I feel like is always there to continue. And
That's
so, like,
real.
has there ever been a moment where you felt like you didn't necessarily want to keep doing the work?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of and I think that's where real I think that's where you prove to yourself how committed you really are and
Yeah.
how much do you believe in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're gonna have the people that don't believe in it,
Yeah.
that don't understand it, that don't see the vision you see, but you gotta keep going through all of that and
Yeah.
make people believe it. So I have those moments all the time, right? Like, and it's okay
Mm-hmm.
because it's part of the business. Because you growing, you elevating, and you still just figuring things out. And there's no blueprint,
Right.
right? No one is guiding us on this journey. Like, do things this way. This is how you have to plan it out. This is how you need to go meet people. Like, you're learning. We all learning. So for me, it's like I'm always sometimes questioning it, right? But then you
Hmm.
get to a point too where you like, all right, when I'm gonna stop questioning myself and buy in.
That part.
You know what I'm saying? And then when you buy in, the things that you're able to do is crazy.
Yeah. When
And the
you invest.
buy-in look different
Hmm.
every time.
Every time. Yeah. Yep. When you further invest, and even when those doubts come, it's you reap like the benefits. I understand completely. And yeah, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
everything that you shared. And like, yeah, let the people know where they could follow you. Anything else coming up like that people should look out for?
So, we working on the next show.
Yeah.
Because April is Poetry Month, National Poetry Month. So we
Mm-hmm.
doing Poetry Spill Part 2. We did it last year.
Okay.
It's gonna be April 13th. It's gonna be on my page. So you can follow me on Instagram at Jermaine_Meadows.
Mm-hmm.
That's JERMAINE_Meadows, MEADOWS. And there you can get all the stuff that we're working on. We actually about to go on tour
Okay,
in
tour.
Kingston, Jamaica, the end of
Not going to
July.
my
Yeah, neighborhood
country.
poetry. We
What?
outside. Yeah, it's going down.
When? April?
No, July. July, we
That's
going on tour in
fire.
Jamaica. Yep, I think it's July 24th through the 27th,
That's
and
dope.
that rolls into Dream Weekend. So
Mm,
anybody want to come through, we
oh,
provide an
period.
all-inclusive package too. So yeah, definitely
Okay.
reach out.
That's
Yes.
dope. I hope that goes well.
Yeah, I mean it's an experience, right? Like
Yeah.
we'll see, right? But
Cool.
one foot in front of the other.
That's it. Absolutely. And yeah, any final thoughts, any final words before we end the show?
Thank you for having me. This is great. This is
No
amazing
problem.
work that you're doing.
Hmm.
I was actually just going through your IG page again, and I was like, "Yo, this is dope. Like,
Yeah.
this is amazing." And the people that you bring up here is dope too. So
Thank
I'm
you.
honored to be here.
Yeah, you one of them.
I know,
Okay.
right? You know, appreciate that. So I know some of the brothers that was up here before, and I was just like, "Yo, this is dope."
Who do you know?
Ken,
Yes, Ken.
that's my
I
guy.
was like, you know
He
what?
was at the show.
Yes, and I missed him. I think I must have came when right when he left, or I don't know,
Hmm.
but I didn't even see him there. But yes, Ken, that's my bro.
Yes.
Shout out to Ken.
Shout out to Ken. He's also a licensed therapist,
Yo.
so we do have him at our shows now. So we
Mm,
are, bringing him up, letting people know he in the building so they could connect with a licensed mental health therapist.
yes.
Because we was collecting data, and one of the things that people were asking for was like mental health resources.
Mm,
So we have like links where you could get free counseling.
yep.
We have those things, and then we also have a licensed therapist present. So
That's it. Period. I know that's right.
we growing, we going, we
I love
going.
that.
So.
Thank you so much, and shout out to Bruce. Hey, Bruce. Thank you, thank you for coming, being our honorary, being our second guest, and our amazing engineer Amir. Thank you so much, and yeah, the neighborhood role model.
Thank you.
Your Mental Matters podcast. We're out.
Peace.